What's good, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. I'm one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Erik Turner. And Erik, it has been a minute
Yeah,
since
it's gonna be a little rusty today.
we might, I'm probably expecting a little bit of rust, knock it off, shake it off a little bit. Yeah, it's been several weeks. I had to travel for work, and then you were vacationing, and
Yeah.
I think there was another week that was wonky in there, but we're back in the saddle with roughly 3 weeks to go until, well, it'll be 3 weeks from now when the NFL draft kicks off. We've got pre-draft visits happening and have been happening, announcements coming through. We've got tape to get into of those players to deep dive into who they are, what they are, and how it translates to the Buffalo Bills. But Erik, as we do here, before we dive into the mountain of tape that we have for this
Mm.
episode, how you doing? How you feeling? How's it going?
Refreshed. I feel
Yeah.
refreshed. It's been a few weeks since we've done a film room. It gave us some time to catch up. It gave us some time to recharge. It gave us some time to dive into some more film. And as you said, for this episode, we're gonna focus in on a majority. We can't get to all of them because I pull too much film for these prospects.
I'm waiting for
We're
the
gonna
one person who's like, "How come you guys didn't do the tape for this guy?" And we're just like, "Oh,
Yeah. And so we're gonna cover. I think it's up to 11 now with Domonique Orange, big citrus added just here
mm,
a little while ago. So I had to rush to throw some film into Huddle for that. But we're gonna try to cover a majority of these players, show you the goods about them, talk about the bad, and how they fit into the Bills scheme. So I'm excited because over the last couple of years, the top 30 visitors has been a big thing, a big
mm."
indicator for the Bills. Bean and even, when McDermott was here, they like to meet these guys as often as they can. They like to get to know the player off the field as well. And so those top 30 visits to One Bills Drive have been important the last couple of years.
Yeah, we've talked about on the show like it can work both ways, right? Like where you're bringing a guy in who you kind of already like and you're trying to just button everything up and get to know more. Or it could be guys that maybe you're still a little questionable about. And so you're trying to get them into these isolated scenarios and clean up any like maybe red or yellow flags that you have or intensify some of the green ones. And yeah, there is, to your point, has been a strong track record over the past several years. And in this administration, granted, McDermott is gone now. And it makes a lot of sense across the board. And shout out as always to the multitude of people who do the top 30 visit account.
Thank God.
Yeah, right. I'm always
I,
thinking of I think it's Billy M. He's a Panthers guy, but he's
Oh,
always like grabbing,
he's so good, man.
dude. He's
He's
like
on
grabbing,
Instagram. I swear, before the season even starts,
yeah,
he follows every player that's in the draft and just reads their stories every day, snapshots it, brings it to Twitter. He's
yeah,
awesome. And he does that, but he also does a lot of film breakdowns on Twitter.
yes.
Like, shout out to Billy, man. He's been doing it a while. And he is a guy that both of us, when it comes to sourcing and use as a resource, he's a guy that you have to follow for those reasons that you just mentioned.
Yeah, he knows ball. He breaks down tape, does
Yeah.
some Carolina Panthers work.
Mhm.
Good with college prospect scouting and evaluation. Yeah, he just grabs so much and
Nuggets.
pushes so
So
much
many
content.
nuggets.
Yeah, like literally tons of like good tape breakdowns, but then also nuggets. Yeah, and I feel
Yeah.
like anytime I look for like a player or search for him, one of the top things that come up is Billy being like, Gracen Halton is going to visit the Buffalo according to his Instagram, and it's
Yeah.
grab, and I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
clutch. Yeah, so shout out to that. That helps us, all those folks who work in that space helping us to and other folks like us, because there's so much information that's coming at you at this time of year. You've got
Mhm.
pro days, you've got combine stuff, you're still trying to get through tape, you've got 30 visits, you got formal meetings, Zoom stuff, and it allows us to put together graphics and charts like this, Erik, like the one you have brought up on the screen. For those on the audio side, we have a grap. Oh, 4 minutes and 44 seconds. First flub back in the episode. It actually took a little longer than I thought it would be. Got a graphic up here showing the Bills' top 30 visitors as of now, updated to include Domonique Orange, Mr. Big Citrus. Erik, we got Casey Concepcion at the top, all the way down to Justin Jolly at the bottom. This is essentially filtered or ranked based on projected round for these prospects.
Between
And
us,
yes,
we
between us.
talked
Yes,
beforehand
yes, between us.
and gave a decent range of where we expect these guys to go. And so this is based on our scouting. So as I said, there's about 11 guys. Casey Concepcion, the wide receiver from Texas A&M. Second on the list, Chris Bell, wide receiver, Louisville. Kristen Miller from Georgia, D tackle, guy who can play all across the line. We'll talk about him, show you some film later. Gracen Halton, who you mentioned, D tackle from Oklahoma. Linebacker, my favorite, of course. Josiah Trotter from Missouri. Good genetics and roots from him as a player, his father in the league. AJ Haulcy, safety from LSU. Very exciting prospect if we're talking post safety, who we're going to cover today. Linebacker Caleb Elarms or TCU and cornerback Julian Neal, Arkansas. Domonique, Big Citrus Orange, Iowa State. D tackle Jimmy Rolder, who's a guy that is getting a lot of looks and visits, linebacker from Michigan. And we're going to try to get to him later today. If not, some of the guys on the back end of this list, we're going to add it to the next episode. Finally, tight end Justin Jolly, NC State, who I did not watch at all. So we won't be covering him really.
Sorry, Justin, and sorry to anybody who came in here looking for the Justin Jolly breakdown.
Yeah, I haven't scouted tight ends. The Bills have a really nice tight end room. So they obviously brought him in for a reason. That reason, I don't know, but we will not be covering him. So if you came here for him, I'm sorry. We regret to inform you he will not be covered. But overall, as I said, the projected rounds for those guys in the far right column, and we're just going to go in that order for some of the film. And as I said, it's hard for me, man. It's hard for me to whittle down, like when we're talking traits and skills, hard for me to whittle down the film when guys like, some of these dudes on this list can stack so many of those traits into one play. And so I love to show you all. And the thing to keep in mind when we're talking evaluation and scouting is when we say these traits or skills, these strengths or these weaknesses, we're not just seeing it on one play. We're seeing it on multiple plays. We're seeing it in multiple games. And so I like to kind of confirm and validate for myself, but also for it to show you fans and other analysts and people that tune in what that looks like and why we put our name on that work that we're showing.
Yeah, 1000%. This is based on plenty of sample size across quality, quantity, and really putting it together for a full evaluation for these prospects. And, for me, Erik, this is one of, we talk about this kind of some different versions of this in season, but so this is like, and even you texted me earlier today, I have my head completely in the sand for like rankings and grades. I don't want to be influenced by anybody. The closest I come to anything is like Russ, our boy Russ will text me and be like, hey, what do you think of so-and-so? Like, I have a round 2 grade on him. And that's the closest I get to like anyone's rankings or thoughts. I don't want to know because I don't want to be shaded. Right. And especially this offseason where we got to the draft aspect later or late, especially compared to what we normally do. I don't want to know someone who I respect or like, what do they think of Timmy so-and-so or this guy, what round? So I have my head in the sand for everything aside from myself. So you texting me today and us going through this and seeing this is literally my first exposure this offseason to someone else's grades and rankings and thoughts about a lot of these prospects aside from myself, because I have not wanted to be shaded. And it's funny that we kind of came in lockstep for most of them. And I'm excited to get into the tape and really reflect where we align on these guys and really show who they are and what they are for a lot of folks.
All right, let's start. Let's get right into it. Again, this is probably going to be a lengthy episode. Lots of film. Yeah, lots of good things. So settle in. Dip out if you have to. Come back. We'll probably still be live. So, Anthony, let's talk about KC Concepcion, wide receiver from Texas A&M. Top 30 visit, obviously. He also had a combine formal, 5'11" and 5'8", 196. And he's a guy that, he separates. Whether you're looking at the film, whether you're looking at the analytics, he separates 3-level winner, speed and acceleration to separate, doesn't lose speed at the break point, drops his hips to make breaks. He's a pretty good route runner, sells those routes really well. Active hands through the stem, I think, is something that is talked about a lot. And I know he has drop issues, but as you'll see in some of this film, he also makes some really good catches away from his frame. But again, winning at all 3 levels. Let's start with that because this is a quick game win here in the low red zone on this play, Anthony.
Yeah, one of my favorite aspects of him is his ability, like you said, to win at all 3 levels. So win at the release point, win with deception in his stems, and then be able to win on the break. And here you start to see some of that suddenness, that shiftiness that he shows, the way he sets up the corner, kind of creates that two-way go and that stutter. Like, am I going inside? Am I going outside? And then you just see be able to put that foot in the ground, stab inside, get across face, and look at the separation there right in the middle of the end zone. Like, that is QB friendly. You are creating space in close quarters. Just doing a good job showing him winning at that spot and then going up, making an athletic catch, surviving through contact, and surviving through the ground.
Yeah, you'll see him outside. You'll see him moved around right at the snap. Here he is in the slot as a number 3. And again, his ability to catch away from his frame, I think it goes unnoticed at times. And you're going to see it here in the intermediate area towards the numbers where he just reaches back inside. The ball is not thrown to his outside shoulder. He reaches back inside away from his frame, contorting his body, showing off that body control. And then again, the extension, look at the arms. You can see the gloves, the white gloves away from his frame, catching that ball, spinning around and picking up the first down.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with how the drops have been talked about so much with him, which is understandable. 7 drops this past season, 7 in 2024, 5 in 2023. But I really don't think it speaks to his overall hands. Like, he makes some really good plucks and snags from the air in a variety of ways. And then this one too, like he said, off frame, he plants himself, goes up, gets it. The ball sticks, right? You can see that diamond kind of forming. Almost looks like he has a nice little, like the football's a nice little peanut in those white gloves. Cradles it, brings it in. I don't think the drops tell the whole story when it comes to his hands. And I think that's reflected on the tape.
Yeah, that's really good tracking down the field as well. We have to stop here. We have a super chat. Arthur Craft 5610. Given this list of guys, it really seems like the Bills expect to move back. Only KC wouldn't be a reach at pick 26. Again, you have to keep in mind, we don't know who they have planned to visit to One Bills Drive. There are guys that maybe they don't want to release that. The teams do and can ask these players not to release any of that information, their agents and their PR teams. But I think it would be great to move back if we're talking about just the overall, picks and how the Bills don't have that second round or moving back. I like that second, third, fourth round. But yeah, again, this is our projected rounds for these guys, and maybe some of the national big time analysts have different ranking, but it is an interesting list when you're talking that, second, third round look on some of these guys that we are aware of are coming to One Bills Drive or have already.
Yeah, and even to echo that, I've said this on Disguise Coverage too. I have so many like guys that are graded like second round to fourth round or like 2.5 to 3.5, and that sweet spot really is like picks 25 or picks 30 through like 80, 85. And yeah, if the Bills can trade back from 26, acquire more day 2 capital or as many top 100 picks as they can, I would be all in for that. And we'll see what happens in the first round, who falls, what shakes out. But I would be a fan of trading back. And I've come around to making my peace with guys being selected at 26. But yeah, I am a fan of a trade back as well.
And keep in mind, they just made that trade with that second round pick, sent that away for DJ Moore. That just happened. So now they're just filling out their board, trying to acquire even more information for those guys that could slip out of the second round and into the third round. And so maybe they're just stacking the information a little bit more because that pick becomes that much more important because they don't have that second rounder. So moving forward, we're looking at KC Concepcion. Very good man coverage corner on him here against LSU. And just the route running. Once again, look at him drop his hips, pivot back to the boundary. But then again, a throw that is hot. As soon as he gets out of that break, the ball's on him. He tracks it, he adjusts, and then just watch the body control the boom. Now he's in a position to make that defender make a miss, a tackle there, and you see him do that to convert the first down. Again, yes, there are drops. There are some double catches on film, and there's some times where he missed times jumps, but man, he can separate at all 3 levels, and then he sets himself up good, something we always love talking about, transitioning to a runner post-catch, and he does it here when the ball was on him quickly, and he's able to make that defender miss right after the catch.
Yeah, this is, one of the ones that was in my head when I alluded to it earlier when I mentioned like being able to pluck the ball from the air. Like, I like the concept. Good man beater. He does a good job, like you said. Not a lot of wasted movement. Sinks his hips, gets out, and then literally as he looks up, the ball is on him. Snatches it, and great call out. One of the things we talked about Khalil Shakir all the time, breaking down his Boise State tape, was to be able to transition from pass catcher to ball carrier. He's made the catch. athletically, he's turning, he's getting upfield, bang. Now I'm turning into a ball carrier. Puts a move on Mansour Delane, who I really like. Dude is
Yeah.
such a good tackling corner. He's athletic. He's got good feet. It's not easy to make him miss. And KC sees him and or feels him, slams on the brakes, gets by him, gets upfield. You see a little bit of that punt return, kick
Yep.
return ability in him on this one, which, also another bonus if you grab someone like Casey Concepcion. Real nice play on this one from,
I love it.
the hips, the hands, and then the
It's
run after catch.
it's funny you mentioned Shakir, because I feel like body type, the style of how he runs, just the body movement is very similar to Shakir. And with the ball in his hand, he has some of that wiggle that Shakir does, where it's not like bendy, but it's sudden.
Yeah.
And like you see it
Fair.
here where he makes that jump cut, and then just look at how his body stays square. His pads are square. He's still looking north and south, and he can get north and south from there. But I do think he does show some shades of Shakir, but I think he wins more at each level, much more than Shakir does, and has shown so far in his career. And route running is, again, one of the big pluses of his, and these double moves, man, he sells them really good, and he gets vertically so quick. He doesn't lose speed. He doesn't lose speed on breaks, on any type of cuts, and you see him not only do that, but bring it in with a safety closing in on him, with a corner closing in on him. You see the separation, and then you see him bring down a tough pass in traffic between two defenders down the field against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned, being able to maintain that speed and transitioning well in his routes or in his moves here from, in the double move, you see it. Because he's a guy that, he is fast. I don't think he has tremendous pull away vertical speed. I think he's quicker than he is fast, but he has such good body control and doesn't lose speed in his movements that I think he plays faster. And you see it on this one. He just, the timing, the pace of that double move, he's gone. He's out, completely beats his man. And then the ball tracking, play downfield. He knows he's got the corner in front of him. He can see the safety coming out of his periphery, coming to the side, goes up, makes the hands catch, brings it down. Really nice play again from start to finish, but you see some catch point play and then some, pull away ability as he transitions on the double move. Oh,
And I talked about his hand usage in his routes. He does a great job of keeping his frame clean, swatting hands, especially when he gets the leverage he wants. You see the corner get outside a little too much, and KC jumps inside. You see him swipe inside, and look at that separation that's created. Now that corner is out of phase, and he's now trying to get up to speed with him. And you see a good job, even with that, again, that safety closing in on him. He's able to make a catch in traffic thanks to that initial separation and the tracking down the field. Again, there's some tough catches he's made. There's some catches that he drops, but on plays like this down the field, he's made a lot of big plays, and at that third level, 19, 20 yards down the field.
And this one's a big one for me with, to kind of speak to his catching ability and some of the toughness. Like the previous play against Notre Dame, he goes up, makes the catch in traffic, but he's going up, can kind of shield himself a little bit more. He's stopping, he's going up. This one, he knows based on where this throw is, he can see the safety. He's going to get popped. He knows it, and he doesn't short arm it. He doesn't alligator arm it. He doesn't allow it to impact his hands. He doesn't lose it through contact, lose it through the ground. His eyes are fully transfixed on the ball, makes this catch. It hits his hands as the safety's coming through, tries to protect himself, gets rocked. Just such a nice play on the release and to win the inside positioning. But then that's just such a great finish with a safety who knows, and that safety too, he knows he doesn't have a play on the ball. So all he's trying to do is run through Casey's face and separate him from the ball. And it doesn't happen. Really, really nice finish to that one from Casey that started off well on the release as well.
And here he is again down the field, and it's something he does a bunch. I talked about his hands and creating separation, but he does also a good job of maintaining his speed and leaning into defenders before snapping off routes, especially to the corner or on those sail routes on deep outs. And you see him do that here, and he's just wide open, man. He creates separation in so many different ways. It's like you said, it's not just pure speed. It's not separation on speed. A lot of it is tempo and pacing of his routes and setting up routes. And then you see that tenacity at the end of that to fight to get into the end zone. So there's a lot of very good things that you see on film from KC Concepcion, and why we could see the Bills, if he's there at 26, taking him. He's one of the few, as the prior poster and super chatter mentioned, one of the few that really wouldn't be seen as a reach at 26.
Yeah, he's a guy too where I've been more get defense in this draft, and then I was like, if they get a receiver, it'll be fine early. And in my mind is really like Casey in particular. And I love how you called out the tenacity with how he finishes this. I also think you see his tenacity in the run game as a blocker, willing blocker. Like he'll like burst into contact. He's trying to drive guys. And I also like what you mentioned at the beginning of this clip, you know, his ability to feel like, hey, I can get into somebody, snap this route off. I think he's really good at knowing when to break off a route or how to break it off, snap it off in coverage. And also you do that within windows as well to find space and create space.
And you talked about the return ability. They threw him in the backfield a few times. Screens. Don't tell Joe Brady, as you said in one of your tweets a few weeks ago. You see the hand down here as these two defenders are closing in on him to keep his balance. And he's just a lot of fun, man. Strong first round grade for me on him. And someone that, because he can win at all three levels, and you see here versus zone where he's running this deep crossing route, he has a speed to threaten all three levels, as you see here, versus what looks like a version of cover three or a cover three match. Just down the field, man. He's a fun wide receiver, and you know, the Bills could bring him in and they can use him in a multitude of ways, you know, especially if, like, say something happens to Shakir, or, you know, one of the X wide receivers gets injured, which, you know, the receiving crew last year had a lot of injuries. He could literally slot anywhere in that group in the formation, and win in the short area, the intermediate area, and the deep level.
Yeah. And I just like his skill set. I like him as a player. And even just looking at the receiver position, right? Like we're looking at a group. You've got DJ Moore, you've got Josh Palmer, you've got Shakir, you've got Keon Coleman. Shavers is hurt now. We'll see what happens. But at this point next year, who knows what happens with Keon Coleman? Palmer's contract has an out next year. Like, so receiver could all of a sudden become a bigger need next year than it is this year. And so you get a guy maybe in 2026 who gives you some depth, but also some high-end capability, then also gives you some support in 2027 and beyond. I've come around a lot towards wide receiver early for the Bills, and in particular, KC Concepcion. He's one of the first guys I watched in this class. I saw him a bunch on broadcast during the year, and it's always cool when the All-22 speaks well to a guy who showed well on broadcast throughout the year when you're watching the game. So, yeah, big fan of KC.
All right, next wide receiver, next guy down the list, Chris Bell, wide receiver, Louisville. I have a strong mid-second round grade, early third round grade on him. And honestly, if he didn't get injured, he tore his ACL against SMU, which was like one of the last games, second to last game.
Just that he was healthy enough to hurt my Hurricanes and put up 9+ catches and 130+ yards.
I'm sorry, we do have some of those clips
of course in here. We do. Yeah, of course we do. That's fair.
6'1" and 7/8, 222 pounds. No 40-yard dash time for him, but there's a lot of really good things to see on him on film. And I don't know when he's going to be ready exactly, but if he hadn't gotten hurt, man, he's probably higher than a second round grade, honestly. He's got the alpha mentality, but he also has, just from watching film, I don't know this kid. From watching the film, he's got the alpha mentality, but some of the diva that comes with that alpha mentality.
Yes, thank you. He wears his emotions on his sleeve.
That's exactly. And I put that as a negative. Yeah, I put that as a negative.
I don't like to. This might be nitpicky, so please don't yell. I don't like the dudes who get open, and when they don't get the ball, they're
showing the quarterback up, throwing tantrums. I don't like that.
I don't like that at all. And I get it. He's a competitor. I don't like that. And I also tie that in with a little bit of, there's some times in this Clemson game, actually in particular, he takes some shots at some guys that are kind of borderline, maybe like that might be a little dirty or cheap. But I mean, I get it. Alpha type of guy, like you said, and roughly 6'2", 220 pounds. He looks the part. He tries to play the part. It's hard not to see him and get excited for the traits.
Yeah, great size. And that size, he uses it well. He forces defenders to work through him. He's able to shield the ball. He's got some snappy stop routes, and he's that alpha mentality. He's that X-type wide receiver. He's got a pretty good route tree, and he's got the size to go with it. So I do think he's a really good X wide receiver prospect. And he can, go deep. He can separate with speed. He can separate on the back shoulder stuff, the 50-50 stuff, but he can snap those routes off and be wide open for Josh Allen if he were to go through him. Drops his hips to make breaks, active hands through the stems, plucks passes. Again, when the ball's in the air, that alpha mentality comes out, and it is his, and he can win, again, at all 3 levels. So let's take a look at some of the film on him after we get to this super chat. Just the
tippy canoe.
Tippy canoe. The Chiefs drafted Royals last year. If they drafted KC this season, they'd literally have KC Royals. That's a very good observation.
Very honestly, that's one of my negatives of the Bills taking Concepcion, is because I don't want to have to think of like KC every time he makes a play. I just think Kansas City Chiefs Concepcion, but that would be very fun. They in theory should have to take him so that way they could have KC Royals.
Right. And obviously we didn't mention it, but maybe it's obvious to most people that cover the draft and watch the show, is that Concepcion was born in Rochester from what I read. Rochester boy. So he is a Western New Yorker. But let's get to Chris Bell. All right, quick game. It's something we always, break down when you're watching film. How do they win at all 3 levels? It's important, especially when you have Josh Allen and, getting the ball out of Josh's hands. Here's one where you see the separation on that in-breaking route. And the thing I like about him also, kind of like Concepcion, is that when he catches the ball, he's very good at transitioning to that next level and running after the catch. And I'm sorry, the second clip is a Miami clip. His speed, man. When I watched this game, I didn't expect him to not only catch the ball, but then to run by just about every Miami defensive back for big plays in this game. It was wild to see. I didn't think he was that fast.
Yeah, good clip, I guess. I remember when this happened in the game, because I'm not even jokingly, he makes this catch and I was like, oh, all right, first down. He's going to get in the red zone. We'll see what happens. And then he just kept going.
Yeah.
You've got Frederic 29 who's trying to chase him down, and then Lucas number 6, and then Poyser number 7 even tries to push Lucas into him to make a play. You got Fitz on the back end, number 13, trying to get him and he just pulls away from everyone. And I heard so much about him coming into this game, what he did against Pitt and Virginia in this stretch. And yeah, the all 22 made me even more mad, because it didn't look like he had the angle.
No.
And he just pulled away. And for his size and his movement ability, he's got some serious run after catch, more from a linear standpoint than he is like a shake and make you miss type of guy.
Linear, and he's also powerful. Like his when he does make a cut or a move, he's powerful and he can run through those arm tackles. And on this play, they ran these drag routes and crossing routes for him all game. I don't know how the Hurricanes didn't adjust. But one thing that showed up on film in this game, but also in his other film, is his ability to get his eyes to the quarterback and just the body language. We always talked about it with Cole Beasley and Josh Allen. The body language is important to Josh, and you see the let up in the route by Bell here. But then you see him once again catch it with his hands, and he's in position to break a tackle, get upfield, and again pull away when he probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, especially against, all jokes aside, this quality of defense, where Miami's defense, one of the best in the nation last year, speed, athleticism, a better tackling team significantly than they were the year before. If you're looking at this right now, you're like, okay, he's probably going to get a little past the 30 and see what happens. He's got multiple defenders closing on him in kind of like a vice situation. You've got the safety coming from depth on him. And he makes himself friendly, gets the ball. Number 1 takes not the best angle, but then all of a sudden he gets upfield, and now Poyser, the safety number 7, his angle is dead, and he just pulls away. And again, that type of movement for a dude who he's 6'1" and 7/8, I'm saying 6'2", for a dude who's 6'2", 220 pounds, that type of movement is really freaky and kind of scary. Look at the giddy up right there to pull away from 8, Jacoby Thomas, that. Boom. Right there. He picks it up at the 20. Gallops a little bit, pulls away. Just really, really, really nice. Oh, we got another super
Coco
chat.
Chunky with a super chat here. Appreciate
I like this. So he's talking about Bishop Fitzgerald, the safety from USC.
Like the idea. I like the idea. And not just for the names. That kid is always around the ball and making plays, dude.
Yeah. I like Bishop Fitzgerald. I actually like him more than Kamari Ramsey, the other safety from USC. But give us all the Bishops. And then Miami has a safety with Fitz in his name. He was a true freshman this year. Get him down the line. Just get all the Bishops, all the Fitzes. Bring back Ryan Fitzpatrick. Get all the Fitzes, all the Bishops. Let's do it.
I love it. Bottom of the screen, Chris Bell, just a speed out, nothing fancy, but it's after, it's understanding that he's only got with a post safety back, he's only got to beat that corner. So he's aware of the angle of that corner as he about to catch it. Look him see it, look it in, and then right here he peeks at the angle that corner's taken. And what's he do? Boom, puts his foot into the ground, cut back inside, and he's again able to shed that tackle and get upfield for more yards after the catch. Is something he does really well, and I didn't expect it given his size, but he does a really good job of body language, like you saw in the last play, but also setting up that next move to make a defender miss or to make a defender fall off of him as a tackler.
Yeah, he a lot of out routes, and I would say like routes they've kind of functioned around the first down marker for him, and it's understandable. Like just get the ball in his hands. It's going to be tough for corners, especially in college, to have the size or the physicality to match with him. And if you don't take the proper angle, if you don't form him up with his size and his frame and his willingness to get yards after the catch, it's just so hard to bring him down. You see like the momentum in the force. He just shakes off that corner. And then again, he's not going out of bounds. Like he's not going to, okay, cool. I made my play. Let me duck out. He knows what he has in his size and frame. And then whether it's the competitiveness or the alpha nature, like you talked about, he's trying to get more yards. He's trying to make something happen, even though he's got bodies converging on him.
I love this play and the awareness versus zone. So this guy's going to drop out. This guy's dropping out as well. And he's going to sit right behind here and become QB friendly once again. You see it just a little curl route, but he works around that guy, finds that soft spot, catches the ball. And then once again, look at him just transition, just turn those hips quickly, gets upfield and gets yards after the catch to convert the first down.
This is one for me. Like it's such a small thing. I'm such a sucker for these little like snags and hitches where you see that number one receiver or any receiver exactly like curl right around and slither right around like a dropping defender, usually that flat defender or that hook curl guy. I like that a lot. That feel, he understands it, body control, settle in the spot, and then exactly like you said, catch the ball, and we're starting to get upfield. Like, I get it, understand the space where you're at. Look, let's get upfield, north and south, no wasted movement. Really nice.
All right. All right. So let's look at some of the speed that he has or some of the
Oh,
ability to get deep. This is versus Clemson. I mean, he barely breaks stride on this play. It's kind of similar to the Concepcion play that you saw, but there's some really good concentration happening on this play down the field because you see the backside defender try to make a play on it right here. And of course, he's got a safety over the top. Does a great job of just zoning in on it. But unfortunately, at the end of this one, I didn't like it because it looks like he kind of drops the ball right there near the 1 yard line. But again, watch it from this angle. You see the speed to get vertical. You see him challenging defenses at the third level, and then that concentration as the ball's coming in right there. I mean, just very nice work by Chris Bell down the field.
yeah, and doesn't body catch it, even though like this ball is like on frame and on the body. Like he's got the hands close, but it's a hands catch, even though he's going with more of the basket style there. See it right on the finger. Ooh, great freeze frame, Erik. Well done. Right on the fingertips, right on the hands, good stride, and then tries to make a play, gets, grabbed around the neckline or kind of like horse collaree a little bit. He's trying to extend, make the play. But again, overall, just being able to stride it out, you see the speed, you see the verticality that he can present, the stretch, whether it's in a horizontal fashion, vertical fashion, or kind of this 45-degree angle on this route and being able to stretch on that deep crosser.
All right, so let's look at some of the, again, there are multiple ways to separate. Sometimes it's speed, sometimes it's your size, your frame, your ability to create separation physically with your body and, bigger wide receiver. Here's a back shoulder play where right at the top of the route, there's a slight push off, the back shoulder throw, almost unguardable if thrown properly and executed properly. You see him adjust that body. And again, I talk about his route tree. It's a very good route tree. He can beat you deep, as you'll see on the next play. He can beat you on the intermediate level on those deep outs. He can snap off routes. Here's one. It's a back shoulder and he separates late and he's able to, toe the boundary there for the first down.
He makes a couple good plays on back shoulder throws in 2025, just whether it's using his size, his athleticism, just the ability to understand his positioning, where he is on the field in relation to the sideline, in relation to the defender. You see the bit of separation there against the corner. He turns. There's plenty of space there for him to make this catch. He hasn't widened himself too much. He gives the quarterback space, but is still able to pull away, snap away from the corner, makes a good, smooth, athletic play, makes the catch, brings it to the ground.
Here's one I know you like. Oh, actually, no, it's the one after this. Okay, so the alpha mentality we talked about at the top, and there's a play. He gets into that honey hole to the top of the screen, and again, when the ball's up in the air, he doesn't care if someone's coming for his head. He's gonna go up and get it. A lot of times, you see him go up with his hands on that play, right along the boundary for the big catch. Again, ball's in the air. It's his. He's got that alpha mentality for better or worse, and you see him go up and get it, extend, take that, and he's got the body to absorb that, obviously. And look at the body control at
Yeah.
the top of that, man. Those are the type of plays that on offense can be tone setters and get not only the crowd into it, but other teammates. If the offense is in a lull, these are the type of plays that create that emotion and get that offense moving.
1000%. This is going up, you kind of, playing above the rim, dunking on dudes a little bit, going up, making the catch above everybody, surviving through contact, surviving through the ground. One of my favorite things about him really is the body control. You see it show up in just some really nice plays, whether it's after the catch or transitioning from pass catcher to receiver or going up and getting it. And yeah, the ability to go up here, make the hands catch, and then as he makes it, to start bringing it in, turning away from contact, and then like he's just so vulnerable, but
Yeah.
because of his like size and ability, like the safety kind of gets mashed and ends up underneath him. And
Yeah.
also from a safety perspective, I wish the safety, like, you got to go up and annihilate him. Put your shoulder into his gut.
Yeah.
Don't go in with your hands. Like, you got to absolutely murk that wide receiver. But
Agreed.
shout out to Bell going up, getting in. Like you said, that's a momentum generator. That's a tone setter. It got the crowd pumped, the sideline pumped. That's a big boy play going up and getting it in that honey hole, knowing contact is coming.
Here's a game versus Pitt, third down, as you see there. This is just crazy. This is that, again, kind of getting that too high shell. You see him snap that route off. Corner does a great job of staying underneath it in trail technique. But again, he doesn't
Yeah.
just let that happen. What's he doing? He tips the ball to himself at the catch point and catches it along the sideline and still gets yards after the catch. Just that alpha mentality, the body control. And when that ball's in the air, his hands are getting on it, regardless if he catches it, but he's not going to let the other guy catch. You see him come back for a great angle here, tips it up back to himself, the tracking there right at the marker, and then he is able to convert the first down. Just ridiculous stuff.
Unreal play. This is my favorite of his from the entirety of the year. Like, he could have been like, "Oh, this is a bad thrown ball." Like, he could have let it go, right? Or he could have just made an effort to make a play on the ball, or he could have just tried and knocked it down, and that's it. But the fact that he immediately sees it and is like, "Uh-oh, I got to do something." And then he tips it to himself, like, but to have that focus and the wherewithal to like tip it, and you're still tracking the ball and then make a play on
Independent
it.
hands too, right? So he tips it with what? His
Oh,
left,
yeah.
and then he's got the right hand right there to
Yeah.
scoop it.
Independent hand use. Yeah, the type of independent hands you'd love to see in like a great tackle with that ability. I'll say show this to Brandon Thorne and be like, what do you
Yeah.
think about this independent hand usage? Yeah, this one's nuts. Like just the no quit, the athleticism, and this is the body control one too, right? To make the play with the left, get your feet, catch it with the right, gather yourself, and then get upfield. Like that's just unreal. That one really shows like, hey, I'm kind of essentially the best athlete on this field. Watch me make a play that the best athlete will make.
All right, moving on from Chris Bell, our D tackle, second round grade for both of us. Solid
Mhm.
second. Both of us agreed on this one,
I
100%.
really like him.
Christen Miller, D tackle, D end. He can play a multitude of positions
Mhm.
based on an even front versus an odd front from Georgia. Give me your thoughts, plus and minuses for Christen Miller while I pull up the film.
Oh man, I think it starts for me with his play against double teams, which is something I don't like as much for Caden McDonald, even though I do like Caden McDonald and he's a good like run defender. I like that he can be, a movement player or a point of attack type of guy. You see a lot of movement stuff from him at Georgia, almost annoyingly so at times, where it's like hard to evaluate. Like, dude, I just want to see some like guys go forward or stay at the point of attack. I don't need to see all these games and twists and stunts and run blitzes.
Right.
But I think he could be a movement guy or a point of attack player. I like how you'll see him wrench offensive linemen back against the run. He'll get underneath them, play with leverage, good hand placement, extend. You literally see him. There's one clip against Ole Miss. It kind of where Ole Miss is backed up in their own shadow, their own goal line, where he just gets his right arm into the neckline of the left tackle and literally pops him up and wrenches him back. You see there's pop, there's explosion in the hands. He's just really good at getting underneath offensive linemen with good hand placement and pop, extending the arms, reading and shedding. I like how he drops the knee and or can reduce his surface area versus double teams. He sees them, he feels them, he responds. I feel like he should be generating more buzz in the conversation, especially just as a run defender. I don't think he's somebody who has a great pass rush bag or an arsenal of moves. If he did, he would be a solid one for me. But I still think he has enough movement to cause some havoc there. But I think he's a much better run defender and point of attack player than he's getting credit for.
I think he's very good. I don't think he's elite. I think he's very good against the run. If we're talking either at zero tech or shade, one tech, a nose tackle, I do think he has ability, as he's shown on film, to bump out to D end in different alignments in odd front spacing. So I think he's got that versatility for him. He's 6'3 3/4, 321 pounds, arm length of 33 inches. And so I think he can move around. I don't know if he's a true nose tackle.
Agreed.
But I think he'd be a true nose tackle in Jim Leonard's system. I don't think he's
that is going to be. And explain that. Talk about like why you think that or what that means.
Right. So obviously old school 3-4 nose tackles are those space eaters, those big wide bodies that
Ted Washington and Pat Williams, baby.
Yeah, as Bills fans, you know those names. And so I don't think he's like that. I don't think he has that power and anchor because of his frame. I think he has very good refined run defense technique when it comes to hand placement, when to, peek in and peek out and shed those blocks. And he can do it from even spacing, odd spacing. He can do it from 0 or 1 shade. He can do it from 3, 4 eye, 5. So I think he has that versatility to be a valuable piece, which is why I think he is a second rounder. But I wouldn't say he's a true nose tackle, but he has that 2-gap ability. But he also has a decent first step that in systems that are more movement based, not necessarily Georgia. They're more of like a traditional, I don't want to say traditional, but more of a, you see them, all 3 defensive linemen are stacking and 2-gapping, where Jim Leonard's, we're expecting more movement, right? We're expecting slanting. We're not going to see a lot of, hey, he's going to be just staying in one place and stagnant. He's got a little spiking and stunt ability and with that, first step. So, but when we're talking improving the Bills defense, it's always about the run. So a lot of these D tackles, we're going to show a lot of run clips. You see him at nose tackle here, number 52. Once again, absorb, but you see the pad level. You see the stakes in the ground right here, the legs, and then that strong play side hand right here. Look at how he jacks that guy up with some of that knockback, as you talked about, and then just goes and gets the ball. You see that a lot in his film.
Yeah, just it's consistent, that ability, and you see it against a variety of body types. It's interior guys. Sometimes it's against tackles when he's bumped out a little bit more. Wide base, underneath. I think he's consistently playing with leverage. He's got that ability to get underneath guys, bounce them back, wrench them back. Ooh, this might be the one that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, against where, so yep, there he is. He's aligned over the left guard in a straight 2. You're going to see the left tackle, so 2, Miller's right, come inside and watch him get underneath this right tackle. So he sees him coming. His eyes are locked on him, screws out. Oh, look at him just wrench him back with that long arm. That's the one I was talking about. Gets that right hand right on the neckline, right above the numbers. His eyes are in the backfield as he's doing this and literally standing this left tackle up and wrenching him back.
Yeah, he does that. Again, he's got a refined technique when it comes to stopping the run. Here he is. He drops that near knee. I kind of zoomed in on it right here as that, feed block comes and then dissipates. You see him pop back up, rip through, and then go down the line of scrimmage. He's got really good technique. And again, he got really good coaching at that at Georgia. Here's some more clips. This is one versus Auburn.
This happens so much in this Auburn game. It almost happens on like back-to-back plays, like this literal type of rep.
And the same type of blocking concept. So you see him right here, hands, eyes over hands, wins that hand placement. He's going to track the ball, see him jack that guy up, plays very long, 33-inch arms, eyes on the ball. And as soon as that running back cuts back, he sheds and makes the tackle. Now, not every shed technique by him is clean. It's not a violent shed, but he does a good job of still winning ugly when he's shedding, stacking shedding. But again, I think he's shown that he can do that against a center, against a guard. You saw it against a tackle. And so that type of versatility, not just from a formational standpoint where he can align, but who he's winning against and the different levels. Again, a center is a different build than a tackle. And so he does a great job of just getting his hands winning the hand placement, you see it's damn near perfect in textbook every
Mhm.
single time. And so when you win that first touch, you win the hand placement, then you play with good pad level and you throw your stakes, your legs in the ground like this, you can see the power and the ability to anchor because of the way he's positioned his body. Again, great coaching at Georgia. You see him do that time and time again on his film.
Yeah, and I like this one too because I feel like he senses or feels that left tackle coming down, and so you have the good anchor, and then the slight drop of the knee to be like, okay, like I'm anticipating this double. Let me make sure I'm rooted in the ground and good. I just like this play so much, the consistency inside, and I think he plays a good gap and a half technique where he's got the ability to
Yes.
match the screws. Let me
Yep.
get in my primary gap, and if the ball carrier goes in this way, okay, cool. I can stay in my primary gap and I'm good. Or if you see it like on the play before, he falls back to his secondary gap, sheds the man, and goes through. And I love that play and that ability. So he's got some juice and some pop to get forward, can, get penetration. We can one gap a bit, but then that ability to play a good gap and a half, maybe even get to a two. I just like that a lot. He was somebody who I watched initially as I was watching CJ Allen, linebacker for Georgia. And I was just kind of like, meh, okay, we'll see what happens. And then when I really dove into the tape for him, I just think he makes a lot of plays that aren't really maybe splash plays or ones that show up as TFLs. But if you show like the film, like even when he's dropping the knee against Ole Miss, one of the clips you showed there, the ball doesn't go to his side. But you know why it doesn't go to his side? Because he drops the knee and gums it up. So the running
Right.
back's like, uh-oh, let me go somewhere else. And I just think that's a good force multiplier type of player. And with his skill set and multiple spots on the D line, I also think
Yes.
it helps a little bit with the versatility that I
Dude.
think they need more of in this defense, especially in the front. Um, I like Christen Miller a lot, even to the point where, and I know you and I both have hard twos. If they do stay at 26 and he happened to be the selection, I
It's
wouldn't
a
be
slight
distraught with
reach.
it. Yeah,
Right.
I would
Yeah.
consider it a slight reach, but I wouldn't be distraught because I think he fits a need and a role, and I do like him as a player, though I would love for them to trade back and get him at like 39 or 40 or something like that.
Right, and that's something I've been, hammering home on Twitter or X is that, listen, I love guys like Caden McDonald. I love guys like even Christen Miller that are very good run defenders. I do think Miller has a little more wiggle as a pass rusher, but
Agreed.
to me, when you look at contracts, when you look at performances over the last few years of just pure run defending nose tackles, they don't offer much in the pass rush game. And
Mhm.
so that is my argument against getting a nose tackle, purely a nose tackle at 26. A guy like Caden McDonald, because I
Yeah,
don't think he has much, high ceiling when it comes to rushing the passer. Can
agreed.
he help the Bills front seven in the run game? Absolutely. He's going to be
Yeah.
a monster there. But I just don't see the point in using that fifth year option, using a first round pick on a pure nose tackle just to help your run game. I think one, we're underplaying or not selling maybe enough as analysts how the scheme's going to help the run defense. First
Mhm.
of all,
Agreed.
the scheme and ability to bottle things up is going to help the run defense. And yes, throwing a plugger like a Caden McDonald, a Krista Miller, a Bobby Jamison Travis later in the draft is where I think
Mm.
you try to go for those nose tackles. But
Or you could have just signed Roy Lopez.
there's still guys out there. That's the other thing. And
Yeah, DJ
so,
Reader's still there. I would take
yeah,
DJ Reader. Like, I'm cool with that.
right. And so, Krista Miller, I do think offers much more versatility than a Caden McDonald. So,
Mhm.
like you said, we have hard second grades on him. If he were to, drop into the first round because the Bills try to trade back and they can't, and it's a slight reach. Some of those end of the first round picks, as we always talk about, are second round grades.
Yeah.
I get it, but it would also open up things for Deone Walker,
Yes.
Ed Oliver, TJ Sanders, having a guy like Christen Miller who can play all up and down the defensive line. It can move guys around and it makes it much more difficult to set up, blocking concepts against guys as versatile as Christen Miller.
1000%. And that's part of like my selling point for getting a guy like that early. I'm in a similar boat to you. And I try to look at it as more of like, okay, like force multiplier and what does it do
Yes.
for Deone Walker and Oliver and Terrell Bernard and the second level players and all of this, like, so that, the value that kind of expands. And again, force multiplier, that I think that verbiage is potentially perfect. But yeah, if you're going to go D tackle in the first round, not to use this example, but it's recent for a guy that we love, I'd like it to be someone like Byron Murphy that Seattle got, right? Someone
Yes.
who is like,
Oh my
wow, what
gosh.
he can do as a pass rusher, what he can
Yeah.
do as a run defender. You're looking for more of that, dual threat, not so much siloed, and not so much siloed either way. Like, I wouldn't want a defensive tackle in the first round who's pure pass rush and no run defense, but I can understand it more because those dudes get paid. And so
Yeah.
I understand the value proposition. But yeah, I'm in similar lockstep with you there from that archetype or that skill set and where it's valued. And again, if you could guarantee me that you could get that nose later in the draft, full sign off. Or again, they could dip into the free agency pool, which they have not at this point.
So the next prospect, D tackle, Gracen Halton, Oklahoma.
Mm.
I have a second round grade on him. I am a little higher on him than you are. So we're not quite in lockstep, but talk to me about what you saw in film from him, how he fits into the Bills defense as a D tackle. Again, a guy that the Bills had in as a top 30 visit, and a guy that has also had at least one Zoom meeting with the Bills, and I'm sure their defensive staff.
Yeah, I'm about a round later. I have more of a third on him. But that being said, I really like Gracen Halton. The only reason I have a third on him is just the size outlier aspect. More of an undersized guy, size and frame, and fourth percentile for arm length. But man, 90th percentile for his 40, 75th percentile for his 10-yard, 98th percentile for his vert, 92nd percentile for the broad.
What does that all mean?
Yeah, what does it all mean? Exactly. Those are all measuring like explosion, speed,
yes.
Especially the vert and especially the broad, where you are measuring. The broad is kind of measuring similar, like get into a low stance, how much can you explode out of that? And you would see that on tape. His ability to shoot gaps, his get off. He's got good movement on the snap, active hands, quick hands, athleticism, and pop all throughout his body. Effective spiker, good awareness on contained pressures. I think despite being a smaller guy, he can still play a bit as like a point of attack guy versus the run. You'll watch him slingshot himself back into position. He'll drop the knee every once in a while, can feel and read some doubles. I think his pass rush game is limited, not a real bag. You'll see him stall out at times, more of a bull rush or go through you guy with the speed and the juice. I think the short arms show there. But I like him in the Bills defense as a guy who could be a 4-eye and then a guy who can reduce down in the even front. Good motor, good juice. He's lined up all over in the Oklahoma defense. Nose, 2-eye, 3-tech, 4-eye, and 5. And then you see some movement ability like this play against Tennessee right here, where they run a nice little twist inside. And look at him just hop gaps, sit in the hole, break down, make a play. Really athletic, juiced up. And I do like him a lot.
Yeah, spring loaded. He's got that juice. He's a slasher.
That's a good way to say it. Spring loaded.
Motor runs hot. I think he's going to be a sim or pressure game cheat code because, as you said, he can jump multiple gaps. So they may show a 3-man front, and he can jump gaps. As you'll see, he'll jump a gap, 2 gaps over, become the contained player. As the defense sends a linebacker from the second level. He's got that stunt and loop ability. I think with his quickness off the snap and timing of the snap, he wins positional leverage quickly. And as you'll see in the stunts and games, 2-3-man games, he is really a setup guy but he ricochets, as you'll see later. But you see the quickness. I said he's spring loaded. You see him beat that block and then just create chaos, blow up the play at the point of attack. He wins with his position. He wins with his quickness. There's no way that this center is going to reach this 4-eye right here. And I love you mentioned his ability to play 4-eye because I think he played a lot of nose tackle, zero tech, and shade at Oklahoma. But again, they are a movement-based system.
Exactly.
Much like Jim Leonard.
Which is why he fits the bill so well.
And so you see him here as a 4-eye in more of like an even front look. But, I mean, they're mugging, so it is a 5-man spacing. But you see him win positional leverage so often because he's quick off the snap and is a difficult block. So here he is right here, just a 2-eye just inside the guard. And once again, goes backdoor. And this is something that, again, movement-based systems, they're not going to ask him to just sit right here or 2 gap these. He's going to pick a gap. He's going to get upfield and disrupt plays.
Yeah, I do. I like him a lot for the Bills. Like even his fit in the Bills defense or the Bills type of defense would bump him up even in grade for me. Just again, that movement base. It's why, when we were texting about him earlier today, I talked about him like why I love him for the Bills and want him for the Bills. I just think, again, I do think he can play at the point of attack from time to time or even overall. But just that movement ability. And this one too, like 4th percentile arms, right? So he's not really going to win first touch with the length, but he can win first touch with his get off and the juice on the snap. And that's what he does on this one. He gets out of the blocks. hands on, bang, shed immediately. And that makes a nice athletic play as he gets tripped up a little bit by the tackle, gets some knee on knee or like knee into the thigh. So he moves down,
Yeah.
squeezes, makes the play, just athleticism, pop, body control.
And I love his versatility. As you said, it could be odd front, even front. He can play 4-eye. I think when Ed Oliver needs a blow, he can play 3.
Yep.
I think if the Bills are in their base, 3-4 odd spacing front, he can be, again, that 4-eye 5. He can be that 3 on the weak side.
Yep.
Keep in mind, he measured at the combine 293 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
which if you're talking D end and odd front spacing, that's about right.
Yep.
At his pro day, he got up to 300. Just to keep in mind, a guy we love, John Franklin Myers, when he was coming out of college a few years ago, he was at 283. So Halton may look small. He may look like, oh, he's just a penetrator, a disruptor, but he is actually a good size D tackle. He's a very good size D end in odd fronts.
Yeah, and you add in the motor, like you mentioned, team captain on a defense with a lot of pride. We talked about it when we talked about them adding Jay Valai from Oklahoma's defense, DB's coach and co-DC there. You play for Brent Venables, and if you're a captain in a Brent Venables defense, that means something, carries a little bit. So I just trust a guy like that. And again, the movement ability, you even see it here, right? Now we're lined up, straight up, over the center, zero tech, nose, and just the movement on the snap.
Yes. He's not just right. He's not two gapping here. He's just shooting gaps. They're moving. They're sending this guy here because it's a run stunt, a run blitz, and he's shooting backdoor. He splits it, and he's able to make a play on the ball. Like, it's a movement-based defense. Just like Oklahoma, the Bills defense, we expect to be movement-based. And even though they have some, guys that, like, for example, Halton here, he's not the biggest nose tackle per se. He's a guy that can win with movement. And that's, again, fit-wise, I think that just makes too much sense, and which is why they're probably infatuated with him.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And even look at the little, not only does he shoot on that one, the little dip of the shoulder. Let me reduce the surface area. Let me shave an angle a little bit, contort my body. Exactly. Contort my body, get skinny a little bit, rips through that arm, is able to power through. Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. I want them to get, a nose that can play at the point of attack and be in that role. But more than that, I want more versatility and hybridization and movement. And again, I think he's a guy that speaks to it with his juice and where he can line up all along the front.
Yeah, he's a hustle guy. He's a motor guy here. He gets bounced around, but he still keeps his balance. He still keeps his eye on the prize, on the quarterback, and he's there to bring him down for the sack because of this hustle. And a majority of sacks at the NFL level aren't just based on pure talent. A lot of the sacks at the NFL level are because of your motor, of your persistency in the play, of attacking the quarterback, staying in the play, and going after him.
Yeah, and especially if you're going to play like a movement-based defense, you're going to have sims and creepers and run stunts and blitzes. There's going to think like chaos is going to break out, and you're going to need somebody who can run hot, who can clean up. This one I like is the ricochet aspect. He's aligned over the center, rushes on the snap, bounces off of one guy, bounces off another. So let me literally bounce off the right guard, bounce off the running back. Yeah, he's just pinballing, but pinballing with a purpose, ricocheting off guys left, right, and then getting down on the quarterback and making a play. Again, it's just effort and some athleticism tied to it. As funny as it is of him, the pinballing around.
This is awesome. 2-man game. Again, his ability to ricochet, 4-man defensive front, and you'll see him slant in, spike first into that gap. The nose tackle is coming over the top, but that initial contact, look at the force that he brings off the snap, brings the fight to that guy, just mangles him, ricochets off of that, and goes and gets a sack. Again, movement-based system, attack-oriented system, but odd type front. I think he's going to be a very good asset, not just on early downs, but in those fronts on third downs where they're mixing it up. 2- and 3-man games, I think, are going to be fun to watch if the Bills were to bring in Gracen Halton.
Yeah, and it's such a good transition from Oklahoma's defense. You see this twist, this 2-man game on the interior. You see this a bunch from Oklahoma. You'll see it on passing downs. You'll see it on run downs. And he's effective as the spiker like he is here. He's effective as the looper, like we showed in the very first clip against Tennessee, where the other defensive tackle cleared it out for him. And you just see the physicality and the violence. Let me get my hands up. Let me move a guy. Let me clear the space. But then he gets free and he keeps making his play through.
Yeah, here's a 3-man game. Again, one of those obvious pass rush situations. You see him as a 4-eye here just inside the tackle. He's the first man through. He's a spiker. These guys are coming in here. They're looping this guy around. But watch him ricochet, boom, split those offensive linemen, just blow it up and get the quarterback there in the backfield. He's got that motor. He's got that chaos creation gene, if you will. And he just always is penetrating, always creating disruption. Whether you're talking the run and, spiking upfield, slanting upfield, creating tackles for losses, or these 2- and 3-man games.
Yeah, it's just nice to watch him in a variety of effective roles. And I think also you add in too, like he's got some ability to read some run concepts. Like you watch him take on some blocks. There's one, I forget what team it's against, where he comes off the line and they're pulling some guys and he jumps around one puller and then jumps laterally to get back to the backfield and make a play. Like I think he's just a good overall athletic player on the interior. And when you're a defense like the Bills that is going to have multiplicity in their fronts and could use guys who can wear multiple hats and wear them effectively, I do think he ticks several really good boxes for the Bills. He was one who I saw his measurements and, an undersized defensive tackle. My first thought is like, anytime I see an undersized defensive tackle, I'm immediately like, can you play 4-eye? And then watching him in Oklahoma's defense, I was like, you can play 4-eye and then do some of the 4-down stuff as well. I like Halton's fit a lot for the Bills, and someone who, if they're getting this, if they move back and get a 2nd-round pick, love for them to nab him there, or I would pray and hope that he's there at 91, but I kind of don't think he will be.
Yeah, 13% pressure rate, which is second among D tackles in the top 150 draft picks. So he's definitely a guy that can penetrate and get to the quarterback, create pressure on the quarterback, which is why I kind of bump guys like that up a little more. Some of the areas of opportunity from my perspective with him is that he struggles to overcome the hand battle. So if he doesn't win with that quickness and positional leverage, he can loses the hand battle. He can get washed at times. He needs more ways to win the edge, not just that speed and quickness. And you don't see the knockback power that, like we talked about with Christen Miller, and the Caden McDonald's of the world. But again, different type of guys. You don't see the knockback power or speed to power type rushes from him. And again, because he's so up the field oriented, there are times where he just does get washed. But overall, again, I have a strong day 2 grade on him, and we're talking fit regardless of 2nd round or 3rd round between us. He's a really good fit for the Bills, and a guy that's a great fit for me at linebacker is Josiah Trotter from Missouri. Strong 2nd-round grade for him. For me, he is hands down my favorite player I've watched so far in this draft class. It's like when I watch his film, as we're going to show here in a second, I can just see the checklist of his responsibilities being accomplished and getting checked off just over the top of his head, like a video game. That one's done. The guard and tackle are working a double team. Here comes a gap run. Like you can see him check everything off. And then I think he has a great sense of the player he is when we're talking skills, or the lack of things that like he's not a top end athlete. And I think he understands that, but he has developed ways to still win, as we'll show you here in a second. So talk to me about Trotter, your thoughts on him, where you have him ranked as far as projected round as well.
Yeah, I have a 2nd, 3rd on him, but it's more 2nd than it is 3rd. He's my linebacker 3. If we're including Arvell Reese from Ohio State and like the off-ball conversation, it's Reese and Styles. I do have Trotter ahead of even CJ Allen, Anthony Hill. For those who watch the Skies coverage, Russell Brown came on the show 3 weeks ago and gushed about how much he loved Trotter. And that was like, okay, let me peek into him more. I've watched 7 Missouri games just for Trotter because I've enjoyed his play so much. And just the come forward ability. Watching him beat blocks in 2 of the most pronounced ways. He will launch into someone and detonate on them and make a play, or he can avoid them. Turn his shoulders, move through, use some athleticism, read the angle on the block and on the scheme. You'll see him do it against the run. You'll see him do it on
Mm-hmm.
screens. This tape against Oklahoma is absolutely phenomenal. He's making plays left and right. He's just so good coming downhill in a multitude of ways. But I also don't think he's a bad coverage player. Like, I think he's fine in coverage. I think to your point, he knows who he is and what he is. You know, maybe some of the pedigree and who his brother and who his dad are helps with that. But man, he's just so fun to watch, especially when he's coming forward, because you can tell he's smart and violent, and that's an awesome combination.
Yeah, 6'2", 237 pounds. So obviously the size and ability that would pair very well with Terrell Bernard. And we can, talk down the line. If the Bills were to take him, is he going to play Mike? Is he going to play Will off the ball? Bills will have in base defense, they'll have 2 off the ball linebackers, Terrell Bernard and whoever else they draft, or Dorian Williams for that matter. And so I think that complements, Terrell Bernard very well. And if you put these two together, if we're talking base defense against the run and their ability to process and read and react versus blocking concepts, which is my number one trait for Trotter, it's scary to think about those two and how many plays they can make, especially if they, have the guys in front of them to 2 gap at times or play 1.5 gaps and keep these guys free. His ability to evade blocks, his ability to punch guys in the face and be physical with them to get off blocks. His ability, as my favorite trait for linebackers, you guys know I love linebackers, is their ability to shave angles. Because sometimes an offensive lineman is going to get to the spot before you will as a linebacker, but you have to find a way to either get over the top of them or to undercut it and still make a play on the ball. So there's some leveraging going on. There's some calculations going on when you're scraping down the line of scrimmage. I think he's phenomenal at that. He's got the size to be that stacked linebacker where, hey, there's no D tackle or D end in front of him. He's got to play a gap and it's his. He's got to be able to come downhill and take on offensive linemen. And then you're going to see that short area quickness. And there's some pass rush ability that I think
he's a good blitzer.
Dude, if they come out in an odd man front, a 3-man front, and then want to drop him down as an edge guy, like we we're talking about with Caden Ellis, dude, forget about it. This guy has some really good pass rush ability. All right, so let's get to the film, man. Of course, being a linebacker, being a guy that we both love, he's got the most clips. So gap runs, let's start there. Gap runs, he knows who to beat. So you see him process it, and you can't tell me that. Yes, he's smart, but he obviously watches a lot of film. Look where his eyes go. As soon as the ball is snapped, he's looking. He knows that there's a gap type run coming, so he's looking out in front. Okay, who's the guy that I need to be? He sees this guy come out, but he sees some daylight right here. So what's he do? Shaves an angle inside. Boom, puts him right at the point of the entry by the ball carrier. Man, he does this time and time again, and we're going to show you just about every time that he does it in this film room.
Yeah, one of my big calls for him is how well he reads gap scheme runs. And yeah, IDs the pullers, sees what's happening, gets his eyes immediately on that down block from the right tackle that's coming for him, puts his foot in the ground, let me play through the shoulder. I love that. And again, so this is like such a good example to lead off with because he's violent. But he doesn't just play violent for the sake of violent. He's not like, oh, well, let me just try and run through the tackle. He plays smart about it. Let me shave that ankle, like you said. Let me play through the shoulder instead of having to play through the mass of that right tackle.
Yeah.
Plays through the shoulder, gets in the hole, and then makes the stop. Gets shoulder right on the thigh, wraps up, brings that arm through. And he does that so much in space and in close quarters.
Yeah, you'll see him do it to stay over the top. You'll see him do it, again, to shave the angles to undercut. You saw him undercut on that one, shaving the angle. This one, he shaves the outside angle as the ball's bouncing out wide. He knows who he needs to beat, right? He knows this guy is coming on an angle to get him, so he needs to get out in front. And at this moment, he's losing the half-man relationship of this block. So what's he could do? He kind of like Euro steps in many ways, takes an extended stride, dips that shoulder, reduces the blocking area so that guy can't get to him, shaves that angle, and then goes and gets the ball on a perimeter run to the opposite side of the formation.
Yeah, you will see him show some like a little bit of dip and a little bit of bend in space, in tight quarters, and then the functional strength to play through it. I also like too how he dips here. He almost avoids 70 completely because of how, he dips, beats that climbing guard. but then doesn't get like pushed wide, isn't out of control as he comes through the contact and
He's
comes through the
square
dip
at
and
the
comes in.
contact too.
Yes, like he comes upright, regains himself, and then he gets on the ball carrier and just gets, hat on a
Sticks him.
hat, square, beautiful. Like, man, like that's so pretty to chase that from the backside, avoid the climbing guard, and then you end up making a squared up play. Like that's just, and he explodes into contact, brings his hips through contact as well. This one too against this shovel pass against A&M is so pretty.
There it is, low red zone. Watch him, number 40. Again, shaving that angle. He's like, okay. Again, there's some risk involved with making this type
Absolutely.
of decision. Shaving an angle inside and undercutting, but he does it so decisively. He avoids that block, shaves inside, and again, just the footwork to do that. Look at him throw the brakes on, cut inside, dip that shoulder so he can't get blocked, and then just wrap up the ball carrier 1 to 2 yards short, or a yard short of the end zone for a touchdown.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the inherent risk. Like, this can hurt you a little bit, but he's almost like, essentially, whether he's outside or inside, he's almost like the last stop on the train here to try and make a play.
100%.
He reads this, sees the pull, assesses the space, the timing of the play, and as he's like making a play on the block, look where his eyes are. Like, he's seeing through to the backfield, diagnosing what's happening in the backfield. And then, yes, the decisiveness, the timing. Let's put our foot in the ground, play through. I'm playing through an arm instead of playing through the whole block. And then I still have the body control and the ability to get some of mine in front of the ball carrier.
Yeah.
And then he makes a good play. It's so pretty, man.
It's so pretty, and it's reminiscent of offensive line play versus a very good pass rusher. When a pass rusher can calculate and understand that, oh, this guy's oversetting, I can go to an inside move or transition to an inside move. His ability to shave angles and realize, okay, a lot of times the offensive lineman can log him, kick him inside, or kick him out. But he reads the offensive lineman so well and understands that, okay, this guy's a little too high out wide, and so I can undercut it and make a play still at the catch point or at the tackle point. And his ability, again, to contort his body. Look at him undercut that, and then the footwork right here, ability to still drive and still wrap up this ball carry. Man, it's just so much fun to watch.
Yes, and when you've got a defense that is going to be causing havoc and doing a lot of stuff, you have a guy who can mash or who can clean up stuff at the second level. Really, really pretty. Oh, very nice super chat coming through from Lala Banju. Thank you very much. We're global here at Cover One.
Yeah,
the comment is,
today,
hey guys,
no doubt.
Hey guys, greetings from Norway. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. I'll go. I think Erik Holland from Manchester City is a Norway soccer player, so I'm gonna shout out that. Love the show. I was fine with no receiver post DJ Moore, but I can't let the KC Concepcion dream go. He gives me some Jalen Waddle vibes. I mean, we led off with KC Concepcion for a reason. Highly graded guy for us. Really exciting player for an offense that will never be allergic to really exciting players. Really exciting skill set, how he moves, what he does, what he would add to the wide receiver room, and for Josh Allen. And I think it's an interesting comp there with the Waddle vibes. I can kind of see it with some of the speed and the electricity he brings.
And I can see some of the comps to DJ Moore, honestly, because DJ Moore, when he's at his best, he can win at all three levels. And so I think Concepcion is that in many ways just like that. We talked about how Concepcion was in the backfield at times carrying the ball, some of the screen stuff, some of the vertical stuff. So I think in many ways, to me, Waddle's a whole different speed game and speed element than Concepcion or DJ Moore. But I think I can see some of the allure of the Waddle type, but I think he's closer to DJ Moore. Honestly, it may be that insurance if he's there at 26 for DJ Moore again, if anything were to happen to him. But we're talking defense right now. Let's stay with the linebacker here. Appreciate that super chat from Lala Banju. Thank you for joining us on the show. Josiah Trotter, Missouri. We're still talking about his film, his ability to shave angles once again from the Oklahoma game. Understanding the angle that the offensive lineman is going to take to him, and he's shaving an angle, reducing that surface area, and once again making a tackle at the point.
Yeah, again, another one from the Oklahoma game where he just has play after play here. And this one, another climbing offensive lineman, has him in his sights, trying to make a play. And what does he do? Like you said, just shaves that angle. The last minute dip, like he's sizing up the
Sudden, man.
space, the timing. Yeah. And just, okay, like just very calm, cool, collected. Again, for a guy who can play violent, he's not just like, okay, here comes like the climber. Let me mash him. He plays it smart. And again, another one here, another gap scheme run. We got
Yeah.
some pullers, we got movement. Here he is diagnosing, processing, keying. There's Chris McClellan, who number 7 for Missouri. Guys are getting a double on him. You see the outside man in that double. He's going to peel off, come towards Trotter. Let's let the play run and see what Josiah Trotter does in response to that.
And there's a quick question. Will this work against a growing Larry Allen, though? I mean, when we talked about Bills linebackers the last couple of years, they haven't been the biggest guys. They've been those athletic, those guys that can, Matt Milano, that can shave angles, to contort his body, that can beat offensive linemen to a spot or undercut an offensive lineman and still have the speed and ability to chase down and pursue running backs from behind down the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, the linebackers at the next level must be able to win against offensive linemen of all shapes and sizes in a multitude of ways. And Trotter does that at the college level, and it's going to translate, especially when you're talking about his ability to process. That's the thing. Like, we're talking about shaving angles, but maybe we're not selling his ability to process, these blocking schemes. And that's half the battle. He sees that double team combo block, and then one of those guys has to climb to him. He understands that. You see him find out that this is the guy that's going to peel off because of the direction of the ball. And what's he do? Shaves that angle, wins the half-man relationship right there, much like a pass rusher, and he's there to make a tackle at the line of scrimmage.
And that's a really good point from you, Eric, based on the comment there. Like, part of why he's able to shave these angles is because of his understanding of space and his processing of what's happening in front of him. Like, it's not just happenstance and it's so pure athleticism or pure physical ability. He understands what's happening. He's keying, he's processing, he's IDing, and then his understanding of space and timing. I almost said space and time, like he's a scientist, which maybe kind of is like a run game diagnosing scientist. Yeah, it could work. Yeah, it's not just because of physical ability that he's shaving these angles. It's because of his understanding and the mental side of it. And again, Larry Allen is a monster and a unique guy. But let's also not sell short the other side too, which is if he needs to, he will go through someone in a heartbeat and just muck it all up. Yeah. This one, I like this one too. He blitzes. He's coming from the far side. He runs down Mateer, the quarterback for Oklahoma, all the way to the sideline, pops him on the sideline. And then I love how much the Missouri mascot on the sideline loves it.
I mean, this type of hustle, this is just, the type of play that coaches put on Monday morning in the film room in front of the entire team. And then, you see the flex right here.
And the Tigers matching it behind him. Yeah, they're both flexing up on the Oklahoma side. In front of the Oklahoma band, letting them know what's good.
And honestly, if Trotter doesn't make this tackle, you could argue this guy's going to walk in for a touchdown. So he saved the tackle a few plays before, saved the touchdown a few plays before with a nice tackle in the low red zone. And then here, the hustle from the line of scrimmage to make that big play. It goes a long way. And that recognition, this was obviously a big game for him. Look at the recognition against the screen.
I love
how he feels it. And then what's he do again? He shaves that angle, reduces that. So I hope you guys understand what that looks like now, because it's something that shows up consistently in this film. But again, it's not just that ability to shave angles. It's the processing. It's the recognition, the ability to read and react, to go make a play before that offensive lineman gets to him.
Yes, he's only able to shave that angle because of the processing and the identification that leads him to that spot in the first place. If his timing is not right, if his processing is not right, if he's not moving in the right way, you're not going to get to shave an angle if there's no angle to shave. And he sets himself up to operate in that way consistently because of the mental side of it that gets him in that positioning.
And, there's questions from James Leclerc about the coverage aspect. For him, the coverage aspect it's not his strength. So I think he does struggle at times at sensing routes over the middle, like going behind him. His long speed, he's not a top tier athlete. So his long speed is limited. I think he's got above average change of direction. And when we're talking, dropping to a zone and then, moving laterally side to side. But I do think that much like we expect from the Bills, if you watch the Broncos and break down their film and how they protected some of their linebackers who were not good in coverage, the Alex Singletons of the world, they ask, as we talked about when Jim Leonard was hired, they ask the front seven to defend the run. You know, the D linemen and the off the ball linebackers to defend the run. They put a lot more onus on the secondary to cover everyone else up, whether it's with match coverages,
Mm.
whether it's with man coverages. So they're not going to ask their linebackers as often to play, the Matt Milano role and carry a running back
Yeah.
on wheel routes down the field. They're not going to be asked to do that. So I think there are ways to kind of minimize and hide some of the deficiencies that we're going to see from what we expect to be the off the ball weak side linebacker, more of a downhill thumper like
Mhm.
Trotter.
Mhm.
And so there are some of the schematic stuff I think is going to naturally hide guys like that.
I think that's fair. And yeah, I don't think he's a plus coverage player. Overall, I think he's fine. It's funny your note on him. My biggest note on him in coverage I have, he isn't lost in coverage, but he could do better feeling for routes and reading
Yeah.
just and reading route distributions, especially routes that develop behind him. He's fine on routes in front of him, but he tends to lose feel and or eyes on routes that go behind him. And you'll see him move on stuff, and then all of a sudden he just doesn't continue with it, or he settles in the wrong spot. I don't think he's a top tier athlete. I think he moves fine enough. I think he has enough range, especially considering how good of a downhill run based player or just downhill come forward player that he is. But yeah, I think he's fine enough, even though it might not be a plus aspect or a strength of his game.
But one of his strengths is pass rushing, whether he's
Hmm.
coming from depth or at the line of scrimmage. Here's one. I think he's got major upside here. His ability to make running backs miss. You see him, speed rush outside, change that angle, and create the sack here. This one right here, you see some of the phone booth ability to beat offensive linemen. Watch him off the left side of the screen there. You see the swim move and then shorten that angle, bend and flatten. I think he, as we expect, the off the ball linebackers are going to be rushing the quarterback more, not just as 5-man rushes, 6-man rushes, but those sims and creeper pressures. They're gonna add these guys in as pass rushers. So Terrell Bernard, one of his strengths in college was rushing the passer. Josiah Trotter, one of his strengths is rushing the passer.
Yeah, and I love that when he's blitzing, he's not just pure hammerhead where it's always like, let me just barrel into somebody, be a
Right,
heat-seeking missile,
full
and knock
speed. Yeah.
somebody out. Yeah, we saw it in the first one against Bama here where he swims the running back. Now he's swimming the left guard. Look how tight and clean that arm over is. Look how violent the hand
Mhm.
usage is. It's not just let me barrel into somebody and be violent. It's let me attack, let me make the smart play, move through and or around somebody. Now we've got this one, number 40. You highlighted him rushing again,
Mm.
this time going through the center. What do we see? Yeah, similar to kind of a Euro step a little bit.
Your
Let me
step, yeah.
step square in between the man, shave an angle a little bit, power
Yep.
through the hands, power through the shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. He's using that ability to shave angles as a pass rusher. Again, he's got some of that natural pass rush ability, and so it'll be interesting to see, with the Bills defense and their new coaching staff at that position, especially how, a little more zoned in teaching and a little more one-on-one
Mm.
time, how they can refine and really build upon it if they were to get a guy like Trotter. Just so much fun. Obviously, my favorite, as I said, my favorite guy to really study in this draft so far, and a guy that I have a strong second round grade on as far as linebackers go.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I came into linebacker, especially like early on, and then once they didn't take in free agency, Caden Ellis or Leo Chenal. I don't want to talk about it too much. I'm still upset, but I was like, okay, what are they going to do at linebacker? Maybe linebackers on the board early. And I didn't watch a lot of Missouri during the year from a broadcast standpoint. So I started with CJ Allen. I started with Anthony Hill, and some of the linebackers I watched during the year. And I got to Trotter and I was just like, man, like this is my clear like linebacker 3. I just think he's so fun. And I would really like to pair him with Terrell Bernard.
So if we're talking about pairing, trying to find a long-term pairing with Cole Bishop, we talked about Bishop Fitzgerald earlier. Trying to find someone that complements Cole Bishop, that unlocks Cole Bishop. We're expecting Jim Leonard to really maximize what Bishop brings, but I also think that I think both safeties are going to have multi-dimensional skills and
Mhm.
ability to play the post, play too high, drop down as an apex or overhang slot defender. I think a lot of the guys that the Bills are targeting are going to have some of those traits. But I think AJ Halsey, who we have on this list next from LSU, much like we talked about CJ Gardner Johnson and how he played in Philadelphia, some of his best film was as a post defender, as
Mm,
a single high safety. And when I watch Halsey from LSU, 5'11 and 5'8, 215 pounds, a little thicker, 4'5, 240. I saw some of that same thing where he was better as a deep post player. He was better as a guy that started in a post that dropped down to a high wall defender or a rat defender over the middle. Big tone setter, some big hits on film. He trusts his eyes. He allows the QB's eyes to take him to the ball. A top down player makes so many plays over the middle. So a lot of these clips, you're
yeah.
going to see him make those plays over the middle, and a lot of them they're going to start just like you see here as that post safety. But the trend of the league is changing the picture, right? Changing from a one high to a two high, and the different ways that teams are doing that now. And he's one of those guys at the safety position, and some other guys that we're going to talk about down the line in other episodes that can do a lot of those, versatile scheme type things, but a guy that can also sit in the post and complement Bishop to let him move around near the box, fringe of the box, out wide in man coverage.
Yeah, just a guy who always seems to be in and around the football in a multitude of ways.
Yes.
10 career interceptions,
Mm.
19 career passes defended, 4 career forced fumbles. I think I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure his nickname is Mr. Gimme That, which
Mm.
goes back from high school because of his tendency to always make plays and take the ball away.
Gardner
Um,
Johnson, man.
all right, there you go. Like I just I just like his for a guy who is bigger at the safety spot, 215 pounds. And for a person who I think his movement is fine, but he's not this athletic marvel. He's not some bursty, juiced up kind of guy. He has good range and he makes plays on the ball because of his eyes and his processing and his zone awareness. And it's consistent. You watch him jump routes, you watch him put himself in position because he can process and diagnose things that are happening and then act decisively on what
Right.
he's seeing. I have some issues sometimes with, his tackling in space, but he's a willing tackler. He comes forward. He's got the size for it. I think it's more technique and at the tackle point and especially angles to the ball more than anything. But yeah, a guy who I remember seeing him in some games during the year break on the ball, and I thought that was reflected in the all 22. He makes some really nice plays, especially from the
Mm.
post,
Yeah.
single high, where he's reading, processing, jumping, letting the QB's eyes take him there, reading route distributions, and everything, getting his eyes to the right place as he processes. And then, again, for not being the most athletic guy, I think he does have good hip fluidity, snap in his hips. You can watch him go from like pedal to turn in a variety of angles and make plays on the ball. A really intriguing prospect, I think.
So just to compare, I talked about Gardner Johnson. So Halsey, 5'11, 5'8, 215 pounds, 4'5", 240. CJ Gardner Johnson coming out of college, 5'10 and 7/8,
Mm,
210 pounds,
mm,
and a 4'4", 840. They're
mm.
so similar, man. And again, the post safety stuff as Gardner Johnson's career has unfolded, he started in the slot a lot more and he had a little more diversity when it comes to that and plays on the ball from those positions. But I just see so much of it with the recent conversation and film breakdown that we've done on Gardner Johnson. So let's get into some of Halsey's film. I have a late second round grade, early third. You have a third grade on him. But again, some of these plays from the post, once again, dropping down post snap, you see him as a single high. These guys dropping back, inverted. He comes down. He doesn't just sit right here. You typically where that guy is sitting when these guys invert here. He drops down. He sees the play unfolding, makes a break on the ball, and is there right at the catch point.
Yeah, he's good timing, understands how to pace things. You'll watch him bait quarterbacks, but also be able to close on routes. Like, even look at his movement here. Like, he's processing
Yep.
the angle of the route. He comes down and he's playing it, on an angle, but watch his feet. Like, he's processing, he's reading the route. He's not getting too shallow. He's not getting too over the top. And that allows him to take an angle right to the catch point, go around the receiver, and then punch right through and knock it down.
So some of that impact over the middle of the field, too high safety look. You see him right on the SEC symbol. And as that wide receiver, splits the seam, these two defenders down the seam. You see the linebacker here is looking to the top of the screen. This defender's looking to the flats, getting to his assignment. He sees the guy going right up the seam. Quarterback's not even looking there initially, but he knows the quarterback wants to go there and he's looking off the backside safety. And so he trusts his eyes and he jumps the ball. He makes an impact play against Oklahoma.
Yeah, he makes some of the prettiest like jumps on the ball where they're like those highlight ones where the receiver is like ready to catch it and he no pun intended, just jumps in front and is like, give me that, and just jumps in front and takes it. You see that on this one. Look where the QB's eyes are.
Yeah.
He's looking to the field side. He's processing, seeing what's happened. Now all of a sudden, he gets his eyes to the backside, I should say, gets him on 12, fires it, and Halsey's reading it the whole way. You
The whole
see it
way.
from the sideline angle. Like, he sees the route, but look at where his eyes are. His eyes are on Mateer, the quarterback. So he gets over the top because he sees 12 break inside, and he's just watching Mateer, waiting for him to throw that, jumps in front, and he takes it. You see that so much on his tape where he's reading the QB and then just jumps and makes the play.
Here's a single high safety look. You see him fake like he's going to come down into man coverage, then transitions back deep, gets his read on the quarterback, and once again, against Oklahoma, make a play at the catch point, drive on the ball, and break up the pass at the catch point.
Yeah, really good sense, seeing what's going on, efficient angle to the ball while it is in the air. Could have had another interception.
Yeah.
Also making another play on 12, wide receiver for Oklahoma. Rough day for him in that relationship there. Drifts a little bit. 12 does that, is not Haulcy. Yeah, just again, decisive, right? Reads what's going on, puts his foot in the ground, gets forward. Like, he trusts his eyes. He trusts what he's seeing. And it's understandable with when you've made as many plays on the ball as you have throughout his career, and you've had that type of nickname since high school time. You're a guy who trusts himself, has confidence in himself, and it's understandable when you watch him make these plays on tape.
And you see the quarterback looking to the top of the screen on this play as the post safety, so he starts to drift this way a little bit. And I think a lot of plays, there's some good and bad with this. A lot of plays by him, you see him making plays on the ball because he's reading the quarterback. He's letting the quarterback's eyes take him to the ball. Well, at the NFL level, quarterbacks are going to look you off a lot longer and a lot better than some of these college quarterbacks. And so he does get in trouble at times where he drifts off the spot at the college level and may be out of position in many ways. And I think that at the next level is going to happen more. But here you see him drift with the quarterback initially. Quarterback then switches his eyes down to the middle of the field as that crosser's coming. You see him close as the scramble drill ensues. He closes on the ball. He closes on that tight end, makes a play once again from the post at the catch point.
Yeah, and I like this one. End zone angle does a good job showing it too. Well, I mean, both angles do. But you watch him again. He's watching Marcel Reed, quarterback for A&M, sees him look, and now Halsey's eyes get to the route distribution. He's seeing what's happening to the field side, gets literally to the middle of the field, sits, looks in the backfield, scramble drill. What's happening? He processes what's happening, and the angle to the ball in the air, he doesn't get too far over the top. He doesn't get too far underneath. It is a beeline right to the tight end, is processing still what's happening, sees the throw, and then is able to make a nice athletic play on the ball and get himself a PBU. Like, you can see everything from start to finish in this end zone angle. Eyes on the QB, eyes to the route distribution, eyes back to the QB. Oh, this is what's happening. Where's the man? Plaster, make play.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things with him is he will miss some tackles at times.
Yeah.
He had a missed tackle rate of 15.8 last year, 14.4 the year before. So he does miss some tackles. But I think there's a lot of good and a lot of bad that comes with it. Much like CJ Gardner-Johnson. I know I keep coming back to him, but there's a lot of things that just make so much sense. And his ability to read the QB's eyes, sometimes it hurts him, sometimes it helps him. Look at this play. This is literally taking points off the board. Zone coverage. He's reading the quarterback's eyes from the jump, and he just drifts over the middle, waits for that quarterback to commit, and just takes points off the board by intercepting the pass.
What's nice about this one, too, is I think it's either the play before or maybe two plays before. He almost gets another interception. It gets thrown over his head, but you see him like sinking, and he's close, and it's an errant throw, and he doesn't make the play. And then this one happens, and both of them are a reflection of him reading Marcel Reed, the quarterback, his eyes taking the ball, and then look at him go up. Nice athletic hands catch is right in that window, right in the way. And then let's not only get the pick, but let's make some run after catch and take this ball out past where we would have had for a touchback. Just, again, if you're going to make it that easy, it's taking candy from a baby for him on that.
And as someone said, he's a tone setter. Yes, I think he plays, much like that Jordan Poyer role where he can, change and swing games with those big hits. When guys come over the middle, much like CJ Gardner-Johnson, you're going to see him. He can take some heads off and make some big plays over the middle, whether it's with interceptions, plays on the ball, or even just plays like this, just wiping guys out when they come across the middle.
It's so funny too, like his angles to the ball in the air and coverage are like just so much better than his angles to the ball, like when it's in someone's hands in space. And if he could just marry those two things, it would be just so much better.
Yeah.
But yeah, these plays are just so fun. Again, where is he playing? Deeper, coming from the post, read what's happening, foot in the ground, get right to the ball. And
Yeah.
again, you don't make as many plays on the ball as he does. Interceptions, passes defended. There's even, again, forced fumble stuff, which we didn't show. There's a big gain against Ole Miss where he tracks it down or runs the man down, punches the ball out at like the 5. It gets into the end zone. LSU gets the takeaway. You don't make all these plays if you don't have the mindset for it, and especially the coverage stuff, the passes defending the interceptions. It tends to be in the right position at the right time. And that's not by happenstance. It's not by accident. He did it at New Mexico. He did it at Houston. He did it at LSU. It's consistent. He did it all the way back in high school. And I think that type of playmaking and ball production deep, and then Cole Bishop gets to be the down safety, but you could still flip and still do some other stuff there. Really exciting proposition.
All right, so we got to fast forward through at least maybe one more guy. We're going to skip the TCU linebacker, Caleb Elarmzor. We'll come back to him another episode. I wanted to get to either one of two players. Cornerback Julian Neal from Arkansas, which I'm not sure if many Bills fans are aware of, or Big Citrus, which I think every Bills fan is aware of. You guys vote. Who do you guys want us to cover? Julian Neal, corner from Arkansas, who I have a 3rd-round grade on, or Big Citrus, D tackle from Iowa State?
I was going to say the first comment is orange, all caps. I would be shocked if it wasn't Domonique Orange just because of the Big Citrus moniker. Like, the amount of people who have yelled at me in the chat on Disguised Coverage because I say Domonique Orange and don't call him Big Citrus, like, the name alone makes him a fan favorite. So, yeah, I would be shocked if anybody said Neal.
All right, I figured. Well, if you're interested in
Julian Neal,
we'll cover him. We'll cover him in the future. We'll cover Elarms or the linebacker from TCU in the future. Jamie Rolder, Michigan. Sorry, I can't get you to you today. Justin Jolly, tight end. I probably won't cover at all. But unless they draft him, of course.
They will, just to spite us.
They will.
That's the way it works.
So let's get to some of the film of Big Citrus. Let's move this and add that.
Elite nickname for easy 1st-round grade on the nickname. Probably top 10 on the nickname, if we're being honest.
Agreed. If we're talking scheme fit, A+, I think is a great scheme fit coming from Iowa State. Another one of those odd front type teams. And they have been like a 3 safety type team. So I think movement based as well, like Oklahoma. And so I have 8 clips of Big Citrus. So let's get to it. Nose tackle, obviously 95 right here. Zero technique. And one of the things he does with his big body, obviously 6'2", 322 pounds, 33 3/8 arm length. You see him absorb blocks, and there's not much movement by this combination block, these combination blocks by TCU. And you see him, what's he do? He absorbs that, and that allows the linebacker to come fill over the top.
Yeah, he is. He actually, despite the fact like how he looks, he's got his arm length is 58th percentile, and then his hands, big hands, 74th percentile. But he is just kind of built like a stone with arms and legs attached to it, like a good low center of gravity. You see it a little bit on this one, even though he's kind of standing upright a little bit, which will get him from time to time. He's so strong, has such a good, strong lower base. It's just hard to move him off that spot when he makes that contact and then gets there.
Yeah, and the thing with him and the Iowa State defense, much like the Bills defense we're expecting, is sometimes he's, again, he's that stone, he's that rock where he's got to take on a center and guard combination block from a 0 technique or a 1 technique. Sometimes it's movement based where they're going to ask him, like Halton from Oklahoma, to slant or spike into one gap or exchange into another. He has that athleticism to do both. He's got that balance. He's scheme versatile, even though he is a massive human being. And here he is against Iowa, one of his best games, if not his best game from last year. Again, that lower body power, that strain, the ability to fight power at the point of attack and come back after the strain in the fight with the center, who's a very good center, come back and make the play on the ball.
Yeah, you see some of the strength in the hands on this one, that ability to not get driven wide. He's able to kind of anchor horizontally, come back across, make the play. You see him get into the center's body, gets knocked a little bit from the traffic, put his foot in the ground, let's lean off, let's wean off, and then the hand strength. Like he he gets that paw across the running back and starts to stop him in his tracks. And that's what stops the initial momentum from the running back. I like that from him a lot. I like the movement you talked about as well. I do think he has good movement for a guy his size and his build. There's some lateral quickness to him. There's some
Yes.
penetration ability, even some like chase down ability at times with quarterbacks and things. And I do like, that Iowa State defense. They run a lot of tight front stuff, a lot of
Yeah.
that 3-down front. I think it's very applicable to the Bills. And then you add the movement on top of it, like you said, it just makes a lot of sense.
He looks the part of a nose tackle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This is what your
He
nose. The stone
the
with arms and legs.
Yeah, and he plays with pretty good pad level. I think at times his base at times you saw it kind of in the Iowa play. He was able to uphold that the line of scrimmage, but at times where his feet he's under the pads and he's driving and his base and his feet get too close together. And if a guard comes and feeds him and helps the center get leverage, he can get knocked on his ass. So I
Yeah,
think his base at times can hurt him.
yep.
But he just has that. He looks the part. And here's one again. He's not two gapping here. He's moving. He's going to the back door here, getting on the guard, winning positional leverage. And then you see the knockback ability after the movement. And look at the arms of the guard, just like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like right there, I'm going for a ride. He has no control over him. He wins at the point of attack, blows him back, as you'll see from the all 22 angle. Watch how he resets the line of scrimmage right there. Look at, he's 2 yards in the backfield. He already blew up this play, and he's able to make a play on the running back.
Yeah, there's some plays where, he doesn't even get on the box score, but he'll just reset the line because he knocks back a center, knocks back a guard, and has the ability to blow the play up. He has a really good knockback against I think a center from Arizona State in that game from this past season. And yeah, I like that pop again for a guy who is. Oh, look at this one! Look
This
at
one
that.
is
So
just, yeah, I
yeah,
feel
him.
bad for the
I
center.
know. I was gonna say I feel bad for the center. Like, look how uncomfortable. Just gets absolutely wrenched back and
Yeah,
pushed over. And for again, a guy who's like a stone, right? He does have some pop in him in terms of movement, but also in the
yes.
hands. And you pair that with some good arm length for his body type and his position. He can get on some guys quickly, knock them back, or play through them or move around them, which I think is really interesting for him.
Yeah, he's got knockback
Oh,
ability, but he also has the big frame and body to absorb blocks. He can
yeah.
win a multitude of ways with that first step quickness. Here's some of that first, step quickness here where he's swimming. Now the block. He just took advantage of this center. This guy got beat with knockback. He got
Yeah,
beat
poor guy.
at the point of attack and stalemates by him. And then now you're going to shoot the back door with a swim move and make a play on the running back in the backfield. It's just almost unfair.
Yeah, insubordinate and churlish.
Yeah.
From it, it absolutely envelops and eats the running back there. And I think again, that's what's intriguing about him. Like, I think you can sit and ask him to be a point of attack player, right? And just, hey, be an immovable guy, sit, anchor, be rooted. We're gonna work on your base a little bit, but don't get moved. Like, you've got the body type, you've got the strength. But he can also play a little bit of movement. Like, he can quick swim somebody, he can jump a gap or two, make some plays. So I do think he is in line with the Bills defense from a movement standpoint, but can also play a little bit of that run, not even a little bit, can play that run based nose roll or one based one tech roll that works in the rotation.
Here's some movement. Here's a gap exchange, a common tactic by defensive coordinators. The offense is running zone block, and you see them all step in the same direction. And instead of just having him get up the field, they run a gap exchange. So he goes back door here after he senses the zone run. And what does that do? It disrupts the blocking scheme between the tackle and the guard here. And that allows the linebacker to come over the top as they exchange gaps. Once again, exchange gaps. Big Citrus goes backdoor. Linebacker scrapes over the top and makes a play at the in the backfield there with his teammate. Just again a good read, that movement ability to go with knockback power at the point of attack. He's got again. He's very scheme versatile, even given his size and body and body type.
I would take this with him and Josiah Trotter, please. You
Oh
can
my
sign
goodness,
me up for
forget it,
this.
forget it.
Yep. Yeah, I would welcome
Oh
that,
my
and I would
gosh,
take it. Yeah, I would take it.
yeah.
Yeah, I also, his intelligence, I think it shows up from time to time. And again, reading what's happening in front of him, moving accordingly from an angle standpoint, from a space standpoint. There's even times on tape where he's adjusting the front and communicating to everybody. So I think there is some headiness in addition to just again being like this physical, fun presence as well. But again, here's some more quickness mixed with the physicality. Let me get a quick swim. Let me bang into a guy, not get moved, hold my spot, get upfield, cut some things off, make a play. And then, yeah, look at the ability to get off that block and then make a play on the quarterback.
Yeah, man, he's got a little bit of everything, and would be a very good fit in the Bills scheme.
The mind of a
This
safety. The mind of a
yes,
safety.
and this is we're gonna end this entire film room on this play from Big Citrus because it's really kind of what went viral over last year. So is the ability to drop into coverage, get eyes, and play with great vision as that receiver or running back releases, just lights him the F up and drops in a little flex by Big Citrus there. Just some fun stuff from a big dude on the D line.
Yeah, it's nice to have a nose tackle who also has some safety flex.
Yeah.
You take Big Citrus, drop him into the post, let him read the route distribution, make some plays on the ball. Right. But man, that's sincerely though, like he processes what's happening in front of him, sees the route, goes and makes a play, and just buries the guy and then flexes on him. Yeah, that's just, he's got some really exciting, flash plays and some splash plays. And, again, I think the nickname and these splash plays put him up on a lot of people's list because the highlight plays are exciting and the name is fun. But I do think he is a good football player. You and I were talking about it earlier. I have him a little higher than you do, but it's also like Iowa State does so much movement. It's always hard for me to like evaluate interior guys for Iowa or even the D-line guys. I had it, Will McDonald, who went to the Jets several years ago too, coming from that defense, like because of what's asked of them from a responsibility standpoint and then the practical application to the NFL, I think sometimes it's a little wonky, but I do think it fits for him with the Bills. And yeah, I understand why they brought him in. I think he's an exciting potential prospect. And again, he fits what they need, adds a little bit to the versatility. I don't think he's somebody you're lining up all across the defensive line as some of the other guys we've talked about, but he fits a need from a role. He's good at it. And then he's got some versatility within that role in terms of how you can use him schematically and structurally.
And I do think that his pass rush does stall out at times as expected. I don't think he's a guy that's getting to a second and third transitional move as a pass rusher. I talked about staying rooted at times. His base gets too tight and he ends up on the ground a bunch on some really nice combination blocks or feed blocks. And then much like you saw in that last play, he was spiking or slanting. I don't think he necessarily was supposed to drop into coverage. I think he just did. And it's something you see a bunch on his film is where he slants or spikes. His rush is not successful. He's not able to beat the sliding offensive lineman in pass protection. So he just kind of becomes a spectator at the line of scrimmage and tries getting his hands up. So I think he watches too much football.
to the point where I'm even like, they're not telling you to do this, right?
No,
like you can tell where he's like, okay, here I go. Man, it's not working. Let me just drop off. And it's like, you can't do that.
So that was my note. He becomes a spectator far too often as a pass rusher. So maybe he's not just pure two down because I think he has some movement skills. He can play some third downs. But maybe he's a 2.5 down player. He's not a pure, type of DJ Reader type or pure old school nose guard. Nose tackle that is not going to rush a passer. I think he's got some movement skills in there to be a pass rusher and an asset, but not completely a third down player. So overall, we didn't get to all 11. And like I said, we will try to cover the rest of those guys in the future, but we hope that we added some context, enough strengths and negatives and areas of opportunity for some of these players. And if you have any more questions about some of these players that the Bills are bringing in for the top 30 visits, some of the private workouts, I think we can do a whole episode of that where we add in any new top 30 visits in the next episode, add in some of the private workouts that they've had. So the draft is right around the corner. And so we're in crunch time and we want to cover guys that the Bills are blatantly showing interest in. And that information has come out. And so that's why we went forward with the top 30 visits. Again, so far, 11 of them have happened so far.
Yeah. We want to bring, I mean, there's so much we talked about earlier. It's like drinking through a fire hose at times, to use the Greg Rousseau line that he's used on the show with us multiple times, like with everything that's kind of coming at you at times. And so we want to be efficient with what we're doing. Oh, I want to stop you.
That would be a mistake. I don't think Walker is even going to touch the field on 3-4 sets. I think nickel only. That's absolutely false. There's no way they're going to have him on the bench. One of their biggest assets against the run and creating disruption. Deone Walker is going to play in base defense.
Yeah,
I hate
would.
to break
I
that
would.
to you.
Yeah, I would think. I would love for them to get like a run defense, like an anchor or point of attack based nose to rotate with him. But at the very least, right now, he's either playing nose in some odd front stuff and or some 4-eye stuff.
Yes.
Again, part of the reason why we wanted like Kyrus Tonga or Roy Lopez is to unlock Walker to move him around in the odd front stuff, and he can do some even front stuff too. But yeah, I mean, just go back to the Kentucky tape as well. He's at 0, 1, 2, 2-eye, 3, 4, 4-eye, 5.
And their lack of transactions at a zero tech or traditional nose tackle.
Yeah.
They have, I think, Logue technically still. Yeah. And they haven't brought in a free agent.
No.
We assume, based on some of the visits and the private workouts and combine meetings, they're going to bring in a nose tackle, which is why we covered one of them there in Big Citrus. But all the same things we said about Big Citrus with the movement, but the ability to be an anchor at the point of attack, some of that still applies to Deone Walker, and he's done it. And the movement skills are special. So all those movement plays we showed from zero by Big Citrus, Deone Walker can do that in a movement-based scheme too. Now, is he taller and you don't want a high-cut player at nose? Absolutely. Yeah. But he's shown that he can do it. It's just they're not going to ask him to do it all the time. You want to move him around, like you said, and he can play several of those positions at D tackle, nose tackle, and DN.
Yeah, I'll say it's either going to be, especially considering, like you said, the lack of moves at nose, but even the lack of moves at like the defensive end spot, like he's either going to be at nose and or 4-eye a whole bunch in the base front, 3 down, odd front, however you want to verbalize it or however everybody understands what that means. Yeah, he's going to get work there. There's nobody on the roster that's ahead of him right now. There's no other moves that are likely going to be made to supplant him as a starter and a full rotational body. But yeah, he's going to factor in. Again, that's part of, if you watch this show, if you go back with our free agency episodes, part of our discussion was, okay, where does Deone Walker slot in the odd front stuff? And it's not that he won't, it's more of he can do multiple things and he's got this interesting body type and play style. So where do you use him? But yeah, he will slot in there, which again makes it really intriguing to what they go with. Do you want to put him at 4? Yeah. Do you want to put him more at 4-eye? And so then maybe you get 2 defensive tackles or 2 nose type of guys because you're going to use Walker more at 4-eye, or do you get yourself a nose and a 4-eye because Walker's going to play a little bit of both? There's all these combinations. Are you adding more weight to Landon Jackson and asking him to be more of a 4-eye all the time? Like, a lot of possibilities.
Darian Mathis played all along the D line in the college level and at NFL level. So yeah, it's been fun. Like obviously, they invested a lot on defense last year, and it was fun to see how it all unfolded. But adding a new scheme, one that we really like, and then the coaching staff, and now some of the players that we can project into the scheme. It's been fun, man. We say it every episode. It's been fun to kind of, predict and project guys into this scheme.
Yeah. Even someone like Gracen Halton, like looking, if this was last year, I'd be like, okay, are they going to take like an undersized 3 tech and like, let's see from there. But now in this new defense, it's like, well, he can play some 3, he can play some 4-eye, you can move him right. It's like, I like him a lot more.
And with Ed Oliver, coming off an injury and, if he were to get injured again, if you have a Gracen Halton, boom, slide him right in there, and you're not missing a beat. He's the same type of player. In fact, he's just bigger.
Actually, yeah, he is. I was going to say, like, he is bigger than Ed Oliver in frame and weight and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's just exciting because you need guys who can wear these hats, like we've talked about and set the conversation with this year. And so, yeah, a lot of these guys, it's more exciting. It's exciting to watch the tape, but it's more exciting to project them into this defense because of the multiplicity and the versatility that this defense will have, the scheme and structure we expect to have. Yeah, it's made free agency evaluations and draft evaluations so much more exciting. And yet, Erik's point earlier, questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, get at us. Again, we know there's so many players out there. There's so much content out there. But we want to kind of take that fire hose and put it to a straw a little bit in terms of what we're giving to you guys, so you don't feel like you're getting inundated with all these prospects and all these evaluations. So anybody you got on your list, on your radar, what you want, let us know. If you're an insider, hit us up in the Discord. If you're on social, get at us on Twitter, at Cover1. Get at Erik, which is at Erik J. Turner. You can get at me at pro__Ant. You can get at the Film Room channel, which is at Cover1 Film Room. DMs, tweet at, whatever you got. Put them into the comments on YouTube. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, anything you folks got. Erik, thoughts for you as we start to wind down and say goodbye.
No, that was a fully loaded episode coming back off a little hiatus.
Yeah.
It was definitely fun. Thanks to, Joe DeRosa, our producer behind the scenes, for setting everything up, but also a lot of his legwork is going to be after the fact and cutting up each of these prospects into separate videos and putting them on the YouTube channel. So I know it's almost been 2 hours on this show, and it's hard to sit down and watch a full show that long, but if you didn't get to see the whole thing, or if you want to go back and watch a prospect, you can go to the full episode description, look at the timestamps, and or come back later once Joe cuts up some of these guys and puts them out as videos later down the road, so you can come back to it down the road.
Absolutely. We know the length of this episode. We're pushing 2 hours here in the Film Room, which is decently long for us, even though we have been known to push about an hour and a half. Yeah. Shout out, exactly like Nicholas says in the comments, shout out to Joe. He's the GOAT. But yeah, we'll be breaking this down a multitude of forms and fashions with the content to make it more consumable for you folks. If you are watching here on YouTube right now, please, and thank you, drop a like here on this video. If you're watching post live, please drop a like on this video. Turn on notifications for the Cover One Film Room playlist. Subscribe to the Cover One channel and check out the multitude of content we have for you across the entirety of the brand. If you're listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, that's cool too, and appreciate it as well. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Shout out to all of our followers, subscribers, in whatever form or fashion. You're an insider. If you're a YouTube watcher and subscriber, audio listener, whatever have you, whatever form or fashion your episode consumption comes in and your support comes in, we greatly appreciate you for it and are very thankful for it. Tell your family and friends and loved ones about the show, about the brand. For myself, Anthony Prohaska, for the godfather and founder of Cover One, Mr. Erik Turner, this has been another episode of the Cover One Film Room. We are going to say goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy, if you're living in Western New York, the nice weather that's starting to turn and hit a little bit. Yeah, and we will see you when we see you. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. We will see you when we see you. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.